I've lost my video of us. There we go.
All right, it looks like we are live on Facebook. Yay. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I just wanted to introduce my and I need to find out why. Oh, yeah, let's get rid of that. Okay, so I just want to say hi, everybody, and thanks for tuning in. I had on Facebook the video going, and all that other kind of stuff, and like I could hear myself talking 5 seconds after I'm speaking. You ever have that happen? But anyways, I'm here, and we are rocking and rolling because for our second live show with Nicole and Jeremy. We had some things come up over the past couple of weeks. We both, Nicole's been sick, and I've been going through some things. As most of you know, I've started on a new job, all that kind of stuff, and it's been incredibly busy. Hi, Nicole. How are you?
I'm good. I'm like 80% better. Yeah.
80%. That's a good thing.
Yeah, I got kicked in the butt hard by this flu thing going around. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. Chemtrail madness, flu, whatever it was, it kicked my butt last weekend. So I'm finally just on the mend.
Chemtrail madness kind of sounds like a dance. Like, what was that Korean dance, Gangnam Style? Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
We could go and I lost my train of thought on that one. Anyways, we wanted to talk about current energies and a bunch of other things that we want to talk about. But I think this is basically right now, the big thing is current energies people are going through a lot, right, Nicole?
Yeah.
It's and so while we're doing this, people were wondering what I'm doing. I'm actually just sharing this on the pages.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to make sure I've got I'm just trying to make sure that I've got the live going on my YouTube right now.
It's a little bit hard sometimes.
I do. Okay.
Yeah. Just so you guys all know, sometimes it's not easy to manage the live feeds like at the same time, and sometimes it's almost better to just record it. But I love the interactions I get with people when I'm doing a live feed. I love how people are like, "Hey, what's going on?" I love that stuff. So if you guys are watching, definitely interact with us because we love to hear from you. So
yes, please. I'm just sending out a tweet right now. We're definitely going to take some questions on the energies, and I promised my viewers I was going to do an energy wave update for like Sunday, but I just got taken out by this flu that I wasn't able to do the video. However, before I got taken out, I did some conscious stream writing on what was coming through. So I'm going to actually read that. So what came through from my higher self about the energies that I think are still here, because I know we got hit hard Sunday. Our good friend Alexis, who was supposed to be on the show with us tonight, reports the Schumann resonance, and you can go check out her YouTube channel, Ascension Diaries, and she does reports on the energies. In the last couple of days, we've had spikes of like 150, 160, so it's been intense.
Yeah, and so what? I don't necessarily follow that, but I do know that this is that I've been watching the people around me, and including myself. There was a Saturday I had something happen, and then by like Monday morning, I was so angry that it was hard for me to even manage it. And I practice a lot of like meditation and what I call the self-awareness game, and it was really even hard for me to manage. But I was in full out, if you guys know I'm a Pisces, as in what I call full out pissy Pisces mode. And and there's one of those things where, but that's honestly, I think with these current energies, you have to be aware that those things are going to happen. Even the spiritual gurus, so to speak, are going through those emotions as well. Yeah. So, or something's happening where they're having to go through some kind of process. So
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see that there is no red wine tonight. It is chamomile and honey tea, and anything else is going to make this throat feel better. So,
well, I drank red wine on my last one, and somebody asked me what the name of it, and it was a Shiraz wine, but I can't remember the name of it, and so I have to tell them I don't remember. It was the cheap one at Publix. So what do you think the suggestion is for these energies? Like, my thing is always just get deep into yourself and meditate and process what's happening within yourself. Affirmations, that kind of stuff. But,
Well, actually, you know what? Maybe it's a good time to read what came through, because I was told the best thing to do when these energies are coming in is to meditate, to go into stillness, to observe, to kind of go into like Mercury Retrograde mode, which is actually coming up in a couple days. But like more of like to do the more inner observance. So let me just find what oh, don't even tell me I picked the wrong. I did. I've got the wrong journal. Shoot. And I can't get up to get the other one.
Why is that? Because she's in bed.
Yeah, I'm in bed and I've got everything set up around me, and if I move around, I know it's just going to screw up the sound, and I don't want to do that. But basically, so what came in was that when these energies are coming in so intense, the best thing to do is to go into meditation, so that we can be in the most receptive mode for these energies coming in. So receiving the energies in the best way possible, best receiving mode, which is aligning ourselves that way to the higher frequencies. So as you meditate, you are going into higher frequencies, and so you become much more receptive to the energies coming in, and they have been super high. And I think, for me, I was so sick. There was just, and when you're that sick, it is so much work to even think about trying to meditate. And actually, I'm going to get into this into a video in either tomorrow or Thursday. I'm going to release it on how I was able to heal myself instead of having to go to antibiotics, which I was almost certain was going to be the next step. But, what can we do to because there's quite a few people who have gotten sick recently. These energies are really kicking people's butt. I don't know if anyone who's watching has felt that or knows people who are getting sick, but this one has definitely been like a doozy. But if you're able to go into meditation in some capacity, and remember, meditation is just, it doesn't mean that you're just sitting there with your eyes closed and doing some sort of hand mantra or like humming or anything like that. It's about taking the mind out of its constant monkey mind status and like tying it down to something. So even if you're just washing dishes and you've got your hand and you're doing something repetitive, that allows your mind to anchor into something, and that can be very meditative. So anytime like these energies are coming in, that's a good time to always make time to do that. But what about you, Jeremy? What have you been doing?
Well, I just want to say hi to Eddie.
Hi, Eddie.
And Vicky. How are you guys doing? So they're saying hi on the Facebook, and so it's about the same things you're saying. It's about getting still, getting quiet, and listening and paying attention. Now, that doesn't have to be the that doesn't have to be that. It's like exactly what you're saying, washing dishes, doing things, just being quiet. I've actually, for the last couple of weeks, I've actually been sitting at my desk. I've actually been going in the training room where it's quiet and working at work so I can have that quiet. And it's nothing against my coworkers. I just had some work that I needed to get done, and I just wanted quiet. Other things you can do is just take a walk. The other thing you can do is you can actually, what I was telling Nicole just before we started is, I'm kind of reprioritizing my life and the way I'm looking at things. And what do I mean by that? I mean that I've literally since 2002 been doing this kind of work. I started off doing readings, and then I got into healing work, and then coaching, and then did my own inner work, and then teaching classes and all that other kind of stuff. So I've been doing this just for a very, very long time. And I didn't really start getting 100% serious about it until about 2006. And so for about 12 years now, I've been, I wrote my book and done a blog or a YouTube channel or taught classes and that kind of stuff. And what just hit me in the beginning of 2018 is something that a friend of mine said to me a long time ago: if it's not fun, I'm not doing it. And so, and what is that? What do I mean by that? That means I'm not going to pursue followers. I'm not going to look for subscribers. They'll just naturally come if they're supposed to. And incidentally, my YouTube channel's jumped up like 200 subscribers in the last 2 months, and I haven't even posted a video on it, which is kind of funny. And so, what do I mean by that? It's just, and why this is important to these energies is, as you're having fun, your energy and your vibration, your frequency starts going up. But however, when you are trying to pursue something, it doesn't mean you can't have goals, but when you're trying to pursue something, meaning, what is it going to take for me to get where I want to go? And I need to work 12, 15, 16 hours, which there's nothing wrong with that, doing that either, if you're in the flow. Because if you're having fun and you're in your passion, it doesn't feel like work. And so, like I was telling Nicole earlier, I'm doing a corporate job. I'm actually designing a class. And last week, I was using a new software that I learned called Captivate, which has totally got me stoked, because I'm going to be able to do interactive simulations, even for spiritual content. So as you're going out and having fun and enjoying yourself, and even by fun, what I consider fun is reprioritizing itself, and simplifying your life, getting down. Now, simple is different for different people. So simple for me is different than it might be for Nicole. And that's because of what our priorities are. So we just have to take, every so often, we have to reanalyze where we're at. And series of things have happened to me over the past 4 or 5 months, and things happened to Nicole over the last year. It's made us really stop and think about what is important to us. You know what I mean? And so I can't necessarily speak for her, but I've even had something happen over the last weekend that made me go, And it's not a bad thing. What these things do, and these colds and these energies that are happening to you, these sicknesses or these dis-eases or whatever, they're not meant to knock you down and hurt you. They're actually a good thing in a sense, even though it sucks while you're going through it. They're actually about, hey, let's sit here and talk. Let's sit here and think about what I want out of my life. What is it I want to do? What direction do I want to go? And then not even being like tied to it, like just going out. And I'm saying this because 7 months ago I quit my job and I said I'll never go back to corporate America. And guess what? Guess what ended up happening? But now I'm in a job where they're allowing me to be creative, which is super important to me. If I'm not allowed to use my creative side, I get super bored. And they're listening to me, so I actually have their ear, and they're actually paying attention to the things that I do. And that was something I wasn't getting in my last job. 20-some years as a trainer, and they weren't listening to my experience. And so that's a little frustrating. And because we need fulfillment when we leave the end of the day. When we lay our head down at the end of the night, we want to know that we've accomplished something. So these energies, what we're going through, I really personally feel are making us look at what is our priorities, what is important to us, what is not important to us. Are there things that were important to us that are no longer important to us? And they're changing. Yeah. And so...
so Casey, you touched on something big, because, what happens to us when we get sick, for instance. And I learned some really great lessons this weekend, and actually they're very empowering for me. And easily when we get sick, or we're in a situation where we can perceive it as very negative, we can slip into that frequency, and we'll create an outcome that supports the negativity. And I just decided Sunday, like, this isn't the reality that I want. Like, I don't want to be sick. I just need to shift my frequency. And so I did, and I just did all this work that I knew on how to shift my frequency, and in under 24 hours, I woke up the next day and I completely had way more energy. My spirits were so much higher. I felt on top of the world. I was singing in the shower. And I had so much gratitude because this flu or whatever came in taught me how powerful I am, that I can change my reality if I truly want to. I just have to apply everything that I know. And it really was so empowering to know that in such a short period of time, I could shift the timeline of, you know, what I was actually on. And so instead of being on the sick timeline where I maybe would have had to go to the doctor and get antibiotics the next day, and then, you know, imposed more on my, you know, my internal flora, like the gut, and like having to take tons of probiotics and just going that route, which I never like to do unless it's absolutely necessary. I managed to shift that for myself, and that was so empowering. And so I had so much gratitude. I had so much gratitude for being sick. And then that just, you know, you talked about having fun and how that is such a high frequency. Having fun is such a high frequency. The more you can have fun in your life, and fun is very, you know, subjective. Whatever is fun for you, do it. As long as you're not hurting anyone. Or yourself. But like being in a state of fun is so high vibe, which is why time goes by so quickly when you're having fun. Mm-hmm. Because the vibration is so high that time no longer exists in the reality that we're used to. And when we're at doing something we're not having fun at, time moves by so slow because the vibration is so slow. And so it is so important that when we want to shift frequencies, just start doing something you really love, that's really fun for you. And I think like that's what's happening is, you know, Jeremy, you were having so much fun. You created a completely different reality around your corporate structure where you're working a corporate job, but you're getting to utilize all of the things that you love to do, which is incredible for you. And so
yeah.
No longer is the corporate structure what it used to be. You've shifted that reality.
Yeah, and I think that there's so many, when you're in that play mode, I mean, the coolest things have just happened to me and over the last month. And of course, Nicole and I text each other all the time because we want to just like surprise each other with the cool things that are happening. So I went to my company that I work for, sent me to get this software class and spent money on that. But then they sent us to the Grand Prix, which is like Formula racing. A couple weeks ago, they rented out a suite. And if racing is not important to you, that's not a big deal. But I actually entered into this drawing for LASIK surgery, and I thought, whatever, I'll just put into my name into the drawing. So they called me, and this morning I went for the appointment. The drawing was that I won $1,000 off LASIK surgery, and I get there, and they gave me $2,000 off. So Thursday I'm getting LASIK surgery, and these right here will be coming off.
That's so amazing.
And so I'm excited, and so. But even then, like I booked a cruise to the Bahamas at the end of the year for Thanksgiving. And for those of you guys who don't know, Nicole and a group of us are actually planning a cruise in 2019. We've been talking about to Mayan ruins. We haven't finalized everything, but that's going to be coming out soon. So it'll be a conference on a cruise. So that you guys are interested in that. That is something that we'll be talking a lot more about. And we're going to be starting to put the agenda together this week. So, So what I guess what I'm getting at is that fun for the last 6-7 months I've been going out and partying. If you're on my Facebook, you know that I've been probably like, man, he's been going to a lot of bars. Like, what's going on with him? And so, well, for a while that was fun for me, and it was a blast. My best friend graduated from college. I had been working a corporate job for about 6 months, so I didn't necessarily have a schedule. I've been to Mount Shasta. Went to Belize and Cozumel. I stood on the Cahokia Mountains in Illinois. I mean, I did a crap load of stuff for like a 6-month period, and it was a lot of fun because what ends up happening is what you're in fun, you're in flow. And I don't want to take up too much time, but the interesting part is that about 2 weeks ago, I called my friend Jonathan up and asked him if he wanted to go to this metaphysical church that we had met at. And I literally got in the church parking lot and I got a phone call. Jared, I'm just not feeling church this morning. Let's go do something else. So I was like, all right. So that's what I want you guys to understand. Like, some of you guys like all been out of shape because people break plans with you. Get over yourself and like just be in the now of the moment. I just wanted to, what was important? I wanted to spend time with my friend, not necessarily church. I wanted to spend time with my friend. So what we ended up doing is we ended up doing sponge docks in Tarpon Springs, and I don't know if you're familiar with that. In Tarpon Springs is a little chapel called the Shrine of Saint Michael, which is basically Archangel Michael energy. And so I go there and meditate like once or twice a month, and the energy is really intense. And if I'm not in a good mood, I'm generally in a good mood when I leave there. So we went and we were literally in flow all day long, had sushi and drank I probably shouldn't say this. We drank like a pitcher of sangria. I mean, like a big
Was Archangel
thing.
Michael drinking with you?
He could have been, because, remember Jesus turned water into wine. So Michael, hopefully he made sangria. So, but what I'm getting at here is that now recently I've just been like, I don't necessarily want to go out to the bars all the time. And that's just not the direction I'm at. I'm wanting to do different things. It's okay, but you have to listen to that inner voice that says, okay, it's time to slow down a little bit. You're doing too much in this direction. Now it's just to balance it out a little bit. And so, and that's where that fun comes in. Because if I would have stayed going to the bar and I didn't want to do that, then it would stop being fun.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's something we have to really think about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's like where, not forcing something, and also understanding like what you said was big, about how when your friend decided to cancel not plans with you, but just what you thought your plans were going to be together, and you went with the flow. That's great because you didn't hold any expectations, and when you don't hold expectations, you allow all infinite possibilities to come in, and that means you get infinite possibility of experiences. And so when you don't have that expectation, then you're always in gratitude for what could be next. And
yes.
That's huge. That's really big. And who knows? Whatever was suggested to you could be like 1,000 times better than what you originally planned.
It absolutely could. And Eddie's saying, wow, the cruise sounds fun. And I'm Eddie, I would love for you to be there. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We're talking about a few different speakers. I know we've talked about Bernard Alvarez, who I'm friends with. We've talked about Laura Eisenhower, who I know and Nicole knows. And Nicole has us a couple suggestions. And so there's going to be a lot of cool things. So hopefully we'll have more details about that in the next couple months. That's our goal.
Yeah, we've got a few people working on this with us, and it's going to be fun. And we're going to keep it so that there is flow time for everyone who's on. And so you won't have to feel like you're too stuck to a schedule, because we really don't want that. We want it to be, we really want there to be community, but we also want you to have your own time to do your own thing as well. And Jason just said the best things are least expected. They definitely are. They definitely are. Because they don't hold any expectations, so they always end up being great. And it's nice to be surprised.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm going to run really quick because I'm going to cough, and I'm going to turn the camera off really quick, so I'm going to let Nicole take over just for a second.
So he's totally taking my thing. I'm surprised I haven't had to cough yet or like sneeze. So I told him that if that happened, I was going to completely turn my video off and mute my mic so that you guys wouldn't have to witness that. So that's what he's doing right now. But I'm wondering if anyone who's watching right now, do you guys have any questions for us that you'd like answered? Anything about energy, anything about consciousness? How have you guys been dealing with the energy waves that have been coming in? There's been a lot going on, and I know that the energy's still coming in really intensely. So if you guys have any questions, please put them in the chat, so we're happy to answer them and make this as interactive as possible for you guys. that's why we're doing this podcast. We were trying to do it once a week, but we're just going to try and do it as often as we can. Some things have come up. Obviously, I was sick last week, and next week we've got something really fun planned for you. We've got a couple extra guests coming on with us, and so it's going to look like what's that TV show, the Brady Bunch? So there's going to be like 4 of us on here.
Oh yeah, or like I was thinking Brady Bunch or Hollywood Squares or something like that.
Yeah, Hollywood Squares. Yeah, although who likes Hollywood anymore these days, right? So let's not compare ourselves to that.
Right? I mean, it's hard to like anything nowadays because there's something crazy going on with all of it. But
yeah, it's been
that's the other thing I want.
It's been wild to watch all of these old constructs collapse under these energies coming in. Like these old constructs, like Hollywood and mainstream media and the government and everything like that, just collapsing before our eyes because the energies do not sustain that type of reality anymore. And so that's been incredible for me to be witnessing. I don't know how you've been feeling about it.
Yeah, it's been cool to watch. And the other thing I want to share with you too is that you know, some people are like, I don't want to watch movies because it comes from Hollywood, and I'm like, yeah, but there's no. I mean, I get what you're saying. Don't stop living in the 3-dimensional world. I mean, technically, if you wanted to go under that context, we would have to go live in a cave somewhere and just not contribute to anything. Yeah. And so a lot of people, you know, because every time you use money, you're supplying the corrupt system. Every time you use a dollar bill, or it doesn't matter if it's Canadian or Mexican pesos or American dollars, you're buying into the system that enslaves us in that sense. But so where I truly believe is that it's that whole be into the flow. And yes, it's been great to watch things unravel. Because the illusion really is unraveling right now, and so that there's things that are just coming up that I never thought would have been coming up, you know, and watching things just I don't want to say fall apart. I want to say they're unraveling. I think that's the best way to say it, because like falling apart would mean that there's disaster, and I don't necessarily think that Harvey Weinstein being outed for being, you know, the creeper that he is a disaster. It's unraveling the illusion, and it means that now we're seeing things for what they really are. Yeah. And they're things that we already kind of knew. I mean, and honestly, I'm seeing things even in my own life where I had made jokes about things years ago, and something came up in my life recently, and I'm like, but those jokes are objectifying somebody, and I don't think it's funny. And it's not that I'm mad or anything like that. I just don't want, and I don't even get mad at my friends for making the jokes. I just kind of just don't participate anymore. Yeah. You know, I just kind of look at them, but I still hang out with them, and I just kind of, my friends give me jokes, joke with me sometimes, and they're like, "Look at Jeremy, look at the expression on his face." I said, "My expression is that I'm not going to participate. That's what my expression is right now."
We've got a question here from Jason. Can you sense a super or full moon before it gets here? Because I'm sensing some sort of lunar energy. Well, we just came off a new moon, and I know that this month we've got a blue moon because we've got 2 full moons this month. But Jason, you may also be feeling the Mercury Retrograde coming in this week. I don't know if you're feeling that, but Mercury Retrograde is definitely coming in, I think, on Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, it's coming in really fast. I'd have to look at it, but Mercury Retrograde is a great time for you to look at all your crap. It's going to, I think we were talking at the beginning. I don't know if we said this before we started the live feed or if it was after we started, but basically right now the energy is going into that Mercury Retrograde. If you had a last nerve to jump on, that's really what it's doing. It's going to jump on that last nerve. And so just kind of be prepared for that. But that's what Mercury Retrograde is there. And that's why everybody's like, damn it, Mercury Retrograde, what the hell is going on? And it's not something for you to get frustrated with it. It's actually celebrate it. Celebrate the fact that I'm going to have an opportunity to become more peaceful. And Eddie, the answer to your question, it depends on what kind of conference that you would like to go to. Eddie's asking about if there's any conferences on the East Coast. Yes, there is a big one in Cleveland, Ohio. That's a holistic wellness type of expo. And honestly, off the top of my head, I cannot think of it. There is one in Philadelphia called Free Your Mind. That is in April. That is more of the conspiracy truth movement, that kind of stuff. If you're into that, it's not necessarily the holistic wellness or even the alien UFO type of thing. It's more just conspiracy and truth. But there is a lot of cool things that people that come there. Laura goes there every year. I got to see Michael Tessarian last year speak, but he wasn't actually there. He was on Skype, and he gave a really powerful presentation there as well. So there are things out there. If you message me, I can try to find some more. There is one in Orlando every year as well, and but they are out there. I actually speak at one in Kentucky called the Inner Light Festival every few years, so I can tell you about that one as well. So, and hi Kenneth, how are you? So, sorry.
Jason asked, what's particularly Mercury retrograde? So, Jason, Mercury retrograde is basically when Mercury is moving slower than the Earth, and so we perceive it as going backwards, like turning backwards. Even though that's not what's happening, it's just moving a little bit slower. So because it's moving slower, it's a really good time for us to slow life down and to look in. Now, Mercury also represents communication. So oftentimes people report during Mercury retrograde things going wrong with technology. People will get into fights more likely because there's miscommunications. And also during Mercury retrograde, it's suggested that you don't sign any contracts. Because of this miscommunication, you may misread things. So hence why it's so important to go slower, take your time with things. And you were saying, Jeremy, before about Mercury retrograde, that there's a lot of people who perceive it like, oh God, Mercury retrograde again, because it happens about 3 or 4 times a year. And I used to be the same way. I bought into the whole like Mercury retrograde again. But again, if that's the reality and the timeline we want to create, then that's what's going to happen. And I've learned to really enjoy Mercury retrograde because some really beautiful insights come through Mercury retrograde when we take that time to move with the energy and go inside and slow things down and observe, be the witness. Not judge everything, just kind of observe as an outsider and just see what's kind of going on. And so Mercury retrograde can be like a really, really powerful time, like you were saying, and you can create it to be exactly what you want it to be. So just keep that in mind that, when we're creating our reality, not to necessarily buy into like what people are telling us. Just because everyone else out there is saying Mercury retrograde is like, the time when everything goes wrong and shuts down, it doesn't have to be you, right? So, and
that's the other thing I wanted to. Yeah, you said something really powerful there, because when you think about it, I also want you to be aware. We all know our thoughts and feelings create. So if you're saying, "Oh, Mercury retrograde," what are you creating? You're creating more of things that are going to cause pain in the ass. And so, if you look at it as an opportunity, then everything is just going to come and flow as opportunities. And so, it's just changing your perception. And the other thing I want to share with you is that. All those things like Nicole was saying when it comes to, where there's a lot more fighting and stuff like that going on. Right now, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm actually upset with somebody very close to me. And I'm okay with admitting to you guys that I'm a spiritual teacher that gets upset, because the schmucks that sit on the stage on these televangelist things that say that they don't get mad or upset and they act all like they got halos over their head. I'm the first to tell you that I do not have a halo. Well, I might have wings because they look really cute with most of my outfits, but so I don't have wings either. I am not perfect. As a matter of fact, I'm perfect within my own experience, meaning that perfection means my screw ups are perfect. My everything that I do is perfect in a sense, because that's the way it was supposed to be, because everything was meant to be exactly the way it was. But at the same time, yes, I am upset with somebody. However, what I've chosen to do is, before I say something, I'm going to calm down first. I'm going to process it. And what I really want you guys to do is to look at both sides. So what ends up happening is a good majority of you get upset about things. And this doesn't even just have to do with Mercury in retrograde. Right now, it's just more intense. But we never want to try to look at both sides. There's a book out there called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of my favorite parts of that book is it says, seek first to understand and then to be understood. And so we're often, we get upset with other people, and we never have a chance to, we never give them a chance to explain themselves or even hear their side or even try to understand their side. And also surround yourself with people that are willing to tell you that you're not practicing what you preach. So the other day I was really upset, and a good friend of mine said, well, I think that before you get so upset, you should calm down, and reminded me of my own advice. And so that's a good thing to have that, because then it reminded me of to do what? Practice self-awareness, to get calm, to be peaceful, to look within, to seek first to understand and then to be understood. So, because it's just like I went and worked out at the gym tonight. It's better to go work out at the gym with a friend, which I did, than to go by yourself. And you need friends to be able to say, hey, you're being an asshole. Take a look at yourself. And so, and that's not a bad thing. Don't take it that way. Take it as, thank you for being so blessed that I have a friend that can call me an asshole. I mean, that's not a bad thing. And just because it reminds you to get it within yourself, to go down within yourself.
Yeah. I wanted to touch on something you just said, and it just flew out of my mind. Damn it.
Was it Mach 2 or was it the speed of light? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Okay, before we okay. Cody says that Cody's feeling the energy too. Cody, what exactly are you feeling? Let me know. And Jason is asking if sleep is sometimes affected by the retrograde. Yeah, I'm definitely. You're saying that you're feeling energized as night approaches. The last 2 nights I've been feeling that as well. I'm having a hard time going to sleep, and tired throughout the day, and then nighttime comes and it's like can't shut it down. So
Sunday night I had a lot of trouble sleeping, and I literally woke up and I was awake at probably 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, and then 4 o'clock, and then 6 o'clock. And so then I went to work, and I was like, so those just happen. I mean, I have friends that are worse off than, what we're talking about. I have friends that go days without sleeping, and I have friends that it's just because they suffer from insomnia, but I also have friends that it's because the spirits are literally talking to them all night long and they won't leave them alone.
Yeah.
And so, I've tried to help them learn that you can set boundaries with spirit. And that's the other thing I want to tell everybody, is that you can set boundaries with spirit. Also, Jason, try this, and this is something that works for me most of the time. It doesn't work for me all the time. First of all, I have an altar in my room that is a protection spell. That on the altar is a painting of Archangel Michael and another one of Archangel Metatron. And I have my crystals there and all that kind of stuff. But the stuff in itself doesn't mean anything, but the intentions I set into it is that they create a cocoon around my room that protects me from, and basically blocks out any of those energies so that I can have a peaceful night's sleep, and only energies that contribute to my peaceful night's sleep or that is in my highest and best good are allowed within the room. And so the other thing that I learned years ago is we wrap ourselves in an imaginative sheet of gold, and so that we wrap our bodies into that. Because I used to have a problem where I wasn't getting enough sleep because I was astral projecting all the time. It was when I was 18, 19, 20 years old. And so what ends up happening is that golden sheet that's wrapped around you, energetically around your body, that sheet is sucking in divine energy. It's bringing in divine energy so that you can replenish the energy you need for your body and have a peaceful, restful night's sleep, so you can go into a REM state or a theta state or whatever you want to call it, because we need that REM state for at least about 30 minutes. The physical body does. So those are some techniques that I've been using for years. And they do help. They don't always help all the time. Like I said, Sunday night I had trouble sleeping. But I would imagine that you're probably a sensitive and you're having trouble sleeping because you are sensitive and this energy is pretty intense for you.
Yeah,
So
he's saying that during the day it feels very calm, but at night it's like he took a stimulant.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That would make sense because I've felt a lot of people do that. So the other thing you can do is I just want to do this. Maybe we can do a quick exercise, Nicole.
Mm?
Or maybe all you can join us for those of you that are watching on my Facebook live and on Nicole's YouTube live. So I want you guys, and even if you're watching the recording later, you guys can contribute to this because remember, time and space means nothing within the quantum and spiritual realm.
Yes.
But what I want everybody to do is I want to take everybody a deep breath in and exhale out. And then everybody just connect their hearts. I want you to just imagine like this is huge aperture just opening up like this, and your heart is just opening up not only in the front, but it's also opening up in the back. And it's like this cylinder or this huge opening. And that's connecting to me and Nicole and everybody watching and everybody that is going to watch. And it's literally just connecting. We're all just getting opened up. And so then that energy is just kind of opening up, and now it's kind of opening up into this bubble of energy. And then it's opening up a bubble energy, it's actually coming up like this, and it's starting to form like a torus going up this energy and through. If you guys can see, it's like a cone shape coming out of the top of your head, and then it kind of comes down into your bottom, your root chakra, and all that kind of stuff. So basically, you have this torus of energy that you're opened up to into your light body. And why I'm having you guys do this is that now I want you to imagine that energy grounded into the earth and also connected to the cosmos. So, and then you're centered in the heart. So why that's important, and I'm sure that you can, because I can feel you guys as I feel you, what's happening here. We're now having these energies work in unison to each other. And what ends up happening a lot of times when we're losing a lot of sleep is we're too far up here and we're not grounded and we're flying all over the place because the energy gets too intense for our physical bodies. And so the literally the soul goes out and says, I'm out of here. I'm going to go have fun and play in spiritual Disneyland. And I'm not going to come back to that body. But what happens is that nobody's pruning your garden, so to speak. The Garden of Eden, this body, is not being pruned, is not being taken care of. And so then you wake up and you're not getting enough sleep. And so that is something that if you connect, ground, and balance too before you go to bed at night, that's just one technique. I actually have a video on my Facebook that Justin Deschamps and I did like probably 9 years ago. And so that teaches this techniques about connect, ground, and balance. And it's just something you have to do all day long, but especially before you go to sleep, because you want to be balanced in your heart and have that energy, and you want to have your energy grounded and stuff like that, and you want to be connected to spirits or to the source. So I hope that helps in while we're going through this. It's also the stuff that we're talking about with vibration and frequency and your emotions, but this is just a very 30-second technique that you can do at any time. And you don't even have to go through that visualization. I just said all you have to do is say connect, ground, and balance, and then it just happens. So
yeah. And also, can I just throw in a suggestion? This was mentioned to me recently. When everyone's grounding your energy, don't ground into 3D Earth, ground into 5th dimensional Earth. Yeah. So that'll help you prepare for the solar, like the event that everyone's talking about. You know, everything that's kind of coming in, all these energies that are coming in. It's so important that when you ground your energy, ground it into the new Earth, ground it into 5th dimensional Earth. That'll help prepare you. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. So there's just a lot going on, and these are just some techniques that. And by the way, if you guys get if you ever guys have like good techniques, message us and we'll talk about them on the live feed. And if you guys got something you want to say, I mean, hit us up, and we would, I don't think Nicole and I would mind if you came on and talked to us at some night. So, we'll just this is just a way to help people, and that Nicole and I like to talk to each other. So.
From bed.
In bed, even though I'm in St. Petersburg, and she is in
Denver.
Cold Denver.
It's not that cold here. It's gonna be it's gonna be 70 this week.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. So.
One second. Cody just said that feeling really sensitive around other people. more often than usual. She's also I also see certain people becoming blissed out, and on the other hand, I see people very angry. So you're seeing the polarization enhanced.
Extremes. Yeah. The extremes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
so the
Sorry, go Jeremy.
No, I was just saying, so interesting enough, there's something that I realized a long time ago, and people think I'm nuts, and that's okay. I actually am kind of crazy. So I said, a little bit too much bliss is not a good thing, and obviously too much anger, we know that's not a good thing. However, there is like these emotions were given to you for a reason, and I have no damn idea what people want to brush the ones that they don't want to feel good about under the rug. Well, I know why we do it, but what I'm getting at is that you have to have a fine line, and there's something that you have to experience all of it, because you have to love all of yourself and you have to be whole. But what you're seeing, I think you said it, Corey was one that said it.
Cody.
What you're seeing, Cody, sorry. I think what you're seeing is these opposites, these polar opposites, and so you're the extremes in one area or the other, and you can tell if somebody's in this extreme. I was talking to somebody recently, and they were really upset about the things that are going on in their life, and you could just tell that they were going through it. And like I was saying earlier, I mean, you're going to have this anger, but you also don't want to harm, as Nicole said in the beginning, you don't want to harm other people. So when you go through those extreme angers, that's a time maybe when you want to go close yourself off into your room or in a private place and not be around anybody. It's okay to Netflix and chill by yourself. You don't actually have to have another person to Netflix and chill. It's a really bad joke, Nicole.
Especially for our podcast.
Well, we are. Never mind. So, but I'm saying it's okay to just chill and just be yourself and relax.
So, but what Cody's also saying is that they're witnessing the heavy bliss and the heavy anger. And so what I would suggest is take this perception. You're being given a really beautiful opportunity right now to see exactly what you don't want to engage in and what you really do want to engage in. And so be very thankful for the angry people for showing you exactly what you don't want, so that you are aware of what that feels like, and so you can shift out of it and go into the more blissed out state. And so it's just almost like when you become this hyper aware, it's your consciousness allowing you to really root in what it is that you want by perceiving the exact opposite, and you getting to choose more and more. Every time you choose, you take probability and you turn it into possibility. You take possibility and turn it into probability. Yeah, I switched it around. So every time you choose, you anchor in that reality one more time, and you make it more potent, stronger for that to be your actual outcome. And so look at it this way. Look at it as a gift, as a blessing to really make you choose and put you in a position where you have such a strong knowing of exactly what you don't want to choose and what you do want to choose. So I hope that helps. And Jason, how does water and the moon energies relate to each other, and what is your experience with those elements? Well, the moon is very feminine, and water is also very feminine. It's emotions. It's about flow, movement. So the moon and the water are very tied together in that sense. And
think about the reflection.
Yeah, the reflection, exactly. My experience with those elements, well, I'll tell you something. I moved down to the islands when I was 29, and I had very masculine energy before I moved down to the islands. I lived in Toronto, Canada, and I was in the city life. I was working like without a vacation for 5 years, and it was just all about work. It was all about making money, and it was also about partying really hard. And like play hard, work hard. And when I moved down to the island, I was surrounded by water. It was a very tiny island. And that water really softened me. It really, that moving onto the island was my whole time was to reconnect with my feminine aspect, to really move more into the softer aspects of myself and to appreciate the divine feminine within me and bring it back into balance, because I was so heavily masculine. And so being around water for me, that was a really beautiful experience in honoring the divine feminine. And the moon is the representation of divine feminine. And so I now actually do a lot of work with the moon, and I've had many meditations with the energies of the moon and the actual moon, and some of the ascended masters who work with the moon. So that's been my experience. I don't know, Jeremy, if you have any.
Yeah, well, when I think about the moon, I actually think about deep emotions. I think about the same thing with water. I also had an experience where I felt like I was the ocean, at least a part of the ocean. So, but when you think about also emotions, you can calm emotions, and when your emotions are calmed, then you are empowered, so to speak. So I'm a big advocate about, experiencing your emotions. And the reason why I'm a big advocate of experiencing your emotions, so you can actually manage and regulate your emotions. That's actually a process to emotional intelligence, which is called self-regulation. And so, and in emotional intelligence, and we're talking about water and the moon, when you think about that, the water reflects onto the moon, or the moon reflects onto the water, because the light that is reflected from the sun and that kind of stuff. And so what is that about? Reflection is about seeing yourself in your darkest aspects and your deepest aspects of yourself. So that's your shadow or your deep emotions. And so when that symbolism comes up to me, it starts to tell me that what is it I'm not seeing, or what is it I need to see that I need to get into, so that I can open that part of myself up and become even more consciously aware. And so that's kind of what I think of when I think of the moon and the water. But yeah, moon and water, it's very feminine. It's very emotional. It has to do with emotions. And honestly, our emotions are what mask a lot of times keep us locked into a story, and our story can imprison us, so to speak. So those are things that we just need to really, pay attention. And I think right now, 2017 was an amazingly emotional year for me. Also a very exciting year. And now 2018 is similar, except that there's just so many cool opportunities coming in. And that's the interesting thing. If you stay in the flow and you look at these things as opportunities, then all the great, cool things are going to be happening at the same time that all the things are going to be happening that are going to be causing all the emotions. So
yeah. And he's saying that the reason he's asking is because he's picking up on certain energies that make him feel relaxed yet energized. And I think, one of the things that we have a misperception of is that relaxing energies can't energize us. But if you think about it, when we're relaxing, we're actually recharging, and so it's to re-energize. So the two kind of go hand in hand. So look at it as like you're moving into balance, it sounds like to me, and you're moving into balance with the energies. So it gets him tuned into emotion. Well, that's great. It's great to be tuned into emotion. Tune into emotion is really good because you can observe what's going on and you can be aware. And this is actually going back to what you were saying earlier, where I forgot what I wanted to say, Jeremy, is when you choose to be aware of a situation, you move into what's called 0 point energy, neutrality, and you get to choose which reality you want to move into. So for instance, when we have this awareness we're in a certain situation, we have awareness of what's going on. Instead of reacting, like Jeremy had said before, you get to choose which way you want to actually have your outcome go. So if you want it to become positive, you can choose to take an action that would be positive and make sure that your emotions support that outcome so that you stay in a positive place. So when we tune into our emotions, we actually become very aware of our frequencies. Now, Jeremy and I actually did a whole webinar on this, on the different levels of consciousness. And when you are aware of what levels of consciousness resonate with certain emotions in your body, that allows you to know where you are on the consciousness scale and where you need to move up to. If you've dropped really low, then you know what you just got to do to get back up there. And so, Jason, having this tune in emotion is very powerful. It's very empowering for you to have that, because now you know where to go next. So you can choose to you can either stay in a very positive place where you are, or you can go higher, or you know that if you slip lower, you know where you need to get back to. And that's about knowing where your location is in this whole energy field that we're in this whole level of all these different levels of consciousness. So I think that's really powerful. So just keep staying tuned into that. And for anyone else who's watching, very empowering for you to really tune into that in your own self.
And by the way, just since Nicole mentioned, I'm actually posting the workshop on the Facebook feed on my page, the live feed. So if you want to check it out, it's called Leveling Up on Consciousness. It's also on Nicole's page or website. It is not on mine yet
I'll leave a link in my YouTube video once this is over.
Cool. Yeah, it's not on mine yet because I'm getting ready to redesign my entire website, and I just have not done anything with my website. So, but there is a well. Oh wow! Just totally lost my train of thought. That is either not grounded, or it's because I'm just turned 44.
No, so you know what just happened? You jumped timelines. So you're on a completely different timeline. So whatever you were thinking of before is on another timeline, and now so that's what happens. Okay, so I just fully started to understand this just very recently. I don't know.
It makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not someone who remembers. There's people in life who just know every detail of their past and remember everything about their childhood. Or you have like a brother or sister who remembers everything from your childhood. You're like, how do you remember that? I'm the person who's like, how do you remember that? I don't remember it all. And I've just recently learned that it's because the timeline that I'm on now doesn't line up with the timeline of when I experienced that, and so it doesn't fit my memory anymore.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense. It makes a lot of sense, and it's so interesting because it was funny because I had just forgotten what I was going to say, but when you started talking about the workshop, I literally just thought we should probably mention the workshop we did, and then like 10 seconds later you were saying it, and so that's what synchronicity.
I'm not even gonna lie. I got a telepathic message from you, and that's why I said it.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Oh wow! Hey, what's up?
That's called like 5D resonation.
5D resonation. So next week we have our friend Alexis and I believe Nicole's friend Lisa on her co-host.
She's my co-host on my podcast Enlighten Up. She's starting a whole new YouTube channel and everything, and I'm so excited for her to announce it because it's like super cool. So she's going to be coming on with us next week as well. So we're going to have all four of us.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And I know that the group that's doing the cruise, we plan on doing some stuff like that as well. But what are some new things that are coming up for you, Nicole, as far as like, webinars or, things that you're going to come out? Do you have anything new coming out or?
Well, I'm writing my second book, and so that I'm going to try and set a timeline of finishing it by the end of summer. But I'm really excited. It's kind of like it's the next step of what happened at the end of my first book, but on a much deeper level, and it kind of ties into some of those themes, but I'm going to take it to a whole new level of what happened next with me. So I've got that coming up. We've got our cruise that we're planning, and gosh, I've got some incredible guests coming up on my podcast. I just had a channeling session with one of them today. Her name is Marina Jacoby, and she's amazing, and she's blowing my mind, and she's just got some incredible information. So she's going to be coming on our podcast. We're recording with her next week, so that's a new episode coming up that I think a lot of people are going to really enjoy. And what else? Going up to a SETI this summer for the first time.
That's right, I forgot you were doing that.
Yeah, I'm going to be going up to a SETI with my whole podcast crew. We're going to go up there we're going to bring up our skeptics. And
nice.
So that's going to be a lot of fun. Looking forward to seeing some UFOs and who knows what else. But yeah, so that's kind of like what's kind of going on right now. What about you?
I think for a workshop, I've wanted to do this for a while, and I want to put it on. I want to do 2 of them. As you guys know, I've been a trainer now for 22 years. And one of the things I would like to do is do a webinar on teaching spiritual people and spiritual teachers how to present. And it's not that I don't think there's great teachers out there, because I do think there's amazing teachers out there. However, one of the things I use in my workshops, even with my spiritual workshops, is what is called an experiential learning method. And the reason why I do that is because creating an experience for people actually hits all of their learning styles. There's a learning styles theory out there called Fleming's learning styles, and that's basically auditory, kinesthetic, and visual. There's other ones out there, but that's the main one that everybody does. And so I want to do that with a spiritual, talking about spirituality and energy in learning as well. So that'll be one webinar. And then there's another one that I want to do on the dynamics of prioritizing. And this is what I've been talking about for years, but I really need to sit down and do it because spiritual people will say, well, I don't need to set goals. I don't need to do all this. And so the one thing that I learned from one of my friends that was a practicing witch is that she said, the reason why we do rituals, Jeremy, is to give the monkey mind something to do. And so what happens when you start prioritizing, setting goals, and putting things into order, it gives your monkey mind something to do. And when you give your monkey mind something to do, then it's not sitting there and going, well, this isn't going to work, and you thought you were going to do that, and that really didn't work out the way you thought it should have. So the idea is that not only when you create a plan for yourself, now you're starting to solidify your intentions, but then you're going to start creating another, you're going to start creating some forward momentum and give your monkey mind something to do so it can't go into its doubt mode. So that's another webinar that I'm going to be doing from Nicole and I's academy called Inflexible Me Academy, which I really love the name. And so those are some projects that I'm going to be working on. And personally, I'm supposed to be going to Manhattan right after tax season. I work for an accounting firm, which you would think would be really boring, but it's actually really a lot of fun. And then I'm considering going to Wyoming this summer to go to Yellowstone National Park. And if Alexis, if you're watching, I would love for you and Jordan and Nicole to meet me there.
Oh my
That would
gosh.
be a lot of fun.
Oh my gosh.
So, and if we go to the Tetons, apparently, there is ships that come out of the Tetons, and my friend Janet Stevenson lives in Idaho Falls, so I haven't talked to her in a few years, but I'll be contacting her so that she can come and meet us. Sorry, my dog likes to sleep on my bed, so somehow I got his hair in my thing. So those are things that I've got going on, potentials and some really cool stuff. And then I'm going to the Bahamas. Yay.
Well, that's awesome.
So
yeah, okay, for sure. If you're in Wyoming, well, you got to come down to Colorado at some point.
Okay, I will.
Yeah, no, Wyoming would be good, and I'd love to do that because I've never been to Yellowstone.
Yeah, it'd be so much fun.
Okay, before we end this, because this is actually something that comes up a lot, and it's Jason just brought this up. He said, therefore, by him being male, does this affect me in a way that his masculinity is trying to fight the feminine energy dealing with the lunar energy, or is it trying to figure out a way to live with each other or coexist with one another? Okay, just so everyone understands, whether you're male or you're female, you have both divine masculine and feminine energies within you. And our whole purpose of being here right now is to bring everything into harmony, into balance. So, Jason, for instance, I'm female, but for the majority of my life, up into my early 30s, I had been heavily masculine in my energy, heavily masculine. So it was my feminine energy that I needed to bring in. So it doesn't matter what your biological sex is. That's not necessarily where your energies are going to be weighing one or the other. It's the energies within you. And so know that we all have the masculine and feminine, and actually masculine and feminine energy is the law of gender, and the law of gender applies to everything. Stars, all cosmic, all multiverse, everything. So there is divine feminine and masculine in everything. So it's all about just kind of bringing it into balance. And so whatever you're feeling with the lunar energy, if you are feeling out of balance, then it could be one or the other. It's not necessarily because you're male. It must be your male out of balance. So I just wanted to kind of clear that up, because that's something that comes up a lot that people kind of misinterpret or misperceive.
Yeah, and I want to bring this. I want to just throw this out there. There's actually this book called "The Stranger Within" by a gentleman by the name of Marvin Kistler, Kistler. It was written in 1995. It's actually not what you would think it is, but it's about. He calls it Rayo and Remo. They're the characters. That it's not a story. It's actually he's a psychologist, but Rayo is the left hemisphere of your brain, and Remo is the right hemisphere of your brain, and meaning the divine masculine and the divine feminine. And why I'm bringing that up, and Nicole, I think you'll find this really cool.
Yeah.
There is between the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. Honestly, I cannot think of the name of the piece of anatomy it is, but there's this layer of skin that literally connects the right and left brain together. Well, there are certain diseases where they have to actually cut that in the brain. Well, why that's super fascinating is that, as you guys know, the left part of the brain dominates the right side of the body, and the right part of the brain dominates the left side of the body. So, if what they did is they did some experiments with these people, that they had to cut that connection between the left and right hemisphere, and they would give them certain commands to do. And they actually witnessed the right side of the hand grabbing the left hand and stopping it. And interestingly enough, the left side of the brain, the divine masculine, and it's not the divine masculine, the ego, because I'm worse wording that, the ego is trying to dominate the impetuous, or the right hemisphere of the brain. So why that's super important to this topic is that the ego, not the divine masculine, tries to dominate, overpower that side of ourselves that connects to that divine part of ourselves. And so with that being said, what's happening is the tests are our physical three-dimensional body tests. So what ends up happening is the more and more we come at peace with ourselves, the soul, the divine masculine, the divine feminine start to merge with the physical, and then you go into the state of oneness with the divine and our consciousness, whatever you want to refer to it as, and then there doesn't become this resistance. So I would say it's not the divine masculine trying to work against the divine feminine. It's actually the physical three-dimensional body, the ego. Remember, they say, and I think it's in the Course in Miracles, they say ego is edging God out. Now, that I don't necessarily agree that 100%, but what it means is that the physical is trying to block the divine that's trying to merge with you, so to speak. So
it's an interesting, I like that. That's an interesting perspective, a different way to look at it.
Yeah.
Okay.
A little long-winded,
awesome.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this has been fun. Thanks everyone for joining us. And
always fun.
Yeah, we're going to be back next week with Alexis and Lisa, and we've got some fun stuff planned for next week. So make sure you set your timers. We're going to do next Tuesday again, same time. And if you've got questions, or if some things come up during the week, like please ask us next week, or if you need to email us, you can either email me at info@inflexibleme.com, or Jeremy, what's your email?
My email is just jmcdonald1974@gmail.com, or you can just go to my website, jeremymcdonald.net. But real quick, I want to say, hi, Matt. Good to see you. I saw your post the other day, and I definitely know you're a real person. Awesome to see, and I love all the work you do. And Steve, to answer your question, have no idea. But I'm having fun at the same time, and that's what it's all about. Love you, man, and peace. So that is, I guess that's a wrap.
Yeah,
And
awesome.
so,
Okay,
all
everyone,
right.
have a great week and enjoy Mercury retrograde this week. It's starting.
Right.
Yeah, look forward to it.
Peace.
Okay.
All right. My live stream is stopped.